What's up, y'all? It's your boy Blue Scouts Beat.
What up, and what up? Salute to my brothers.
Absolutely.
Gunner,
what up?
Tag,
what up?
My brother Tag.
What we doing?
Make
OG
sure you
Wisdom?
check out the OG Wisdom podcast. You know what I mean? Being live and raw from a Lagoon. Good show, my niggas. I love y'all.
Most of our leaders come out of organizations. You have to be a part of an organization to be an effective leader. But how do we determine if you're an effective leader if you don't organize the people? You can't just grab the mic or your phone, get on YouTube and say, yo, I'm a good leader because I think I'm a good leader. You have to have a track record of organizing people, setting goals and agendas and getting them done.
Yeah. Politicians I don't really like. Activism is different because, you know, you got a goal. It has nothing to do with politics. When you are activist, you know, it's for your people.
Make sure y'all get ready to tune in to my brother, my big brother, C Gutter and Tad, new podcast, OG Wisdom. Better tune in to that. A lot of jewels, a lot of knowledge, a lot of lifestyle, a lot of street talk, a lot of hood tales, real stories. Check it out. OG Wisdom, Tad, C Gutter.
Peace, family. Peace. Welcome to another episode of the OG Wisdom Podcast with your brother Chad. My brother C Gutter is out on the line right now, but I will not be alone today. Today, I have my brother from the UK, my brother Siraj, joining us talking about what he has coming up during his US tour. I also have my sister from another mister, returning to bring that flame, that heat. My sister K Fighter. All right. But we want to do a little house cleaning. You're allowed to have your opinion. You're allowed to disagree with us. But we're not going to tolerate crazy disrespect. All right. I want to give a shout out to our sister Brooke, sister Aruba 927, our brother Professor Carl Tone Jones, and our brother Rich Nice. Today, we're going to dive deep into this conversation about who should have access to our children. Last week, we talked about the Prince of Panhandling, talked about what was going on with him thus far, and we didn't dive deep into what happened to him last Friday. Not only did he have a situation last Friday where it became public that the schools were slated to be shut down for owing an exorbitant amount of money, but also the day after, he asked for more money. He asked for more money from the community. And I thought that was not just audacious, but even crazy. But what I want to do, family, is I want to play his presentation, and we'll come back with thoughts and opinions. Peace, brother Rich Nice, and my brother Hamza. All right. We're going to go into that real quick. Let me pull it up for you. All right. Here we go, family.
Broke the security. I can write a whole chapter on vandalism.
They haters.
Right?
That's right.
They just, my bank account froze. I got to find out what's going on. When they froze the school's account, they ain't telling me nothing. They said I found out yesterday, but I was too busy to call them yesterday, so I got to call them Monday. Because if you close the account, give me the damn check so I can open up a new account because we got bills to pay. I don't know if it's the FBI. I don't know if it's Funky Medea. I don't know who did it. But anyway, stay focused. We must stay focused. Either way, they got to give us our money back. You know what I'm saying? So whatever the thing is, I've been with that same bank since I was 14 years old. It's the only bank. I've been with them since I got my working papers. And just like that, without a reason, they froze. So my lawyer said, if you don't get an answer Monday, we got to go after them because you should have got a check within 4 days of them shutting the account down. They got our money. And my money is in my account, school money in the school account. See that? So we find out money. Y'all can listen if y'all want. Anyway, I didn't know more about me than me. Anyway, I know more. When I was school hunting, in 2017, 2016, 2015, I looked at a school in Newark, New Jersey. It was being rented by a European Jew. I was going to rent the school. Our school was almost in Newark. Y'all don't know this, but you know now. And then the European Jew, no disrespect to the Jewish people, that he looked me up and found out who I was and said, we cannot rent to you. I'm saying all that to say that when we went up to Marcus Garvey Elementary School of the FDMG Academy, as soon as it's ready, we're going to start looking for the next school location. Are y'all following me? So for those of y'all who do real estate in New Jersey, I don't care if it's Newark, Trenton, Camden, Jersey City, my realtors in particular, I need you to find me a nice little school. I don't need no castle. That's a money drain. We don't want no damn castle. I don't want Eastside High Pastor. No! Get me a school that got about 25, no more than 25 rooms. 25 rooms. I don't need 50. 25 or less. If you find a school, Dr. Umar, they got 12 classrooms. Give me. Dr. Umar, we found a little school in Newark. It got 15 classrooms. Give me. But if we can find us a nice little school, they're not charging but a $500,000, $250,000, something around there, we can work with them. Y'all feel me? Because once we open up the first school, the rest of them are going to start popping like popcorn. Do y'all feel me? Yep. They say the first one is the hardest one. And the only thing we got left to do in the first one is what? Put the tile down. And by the way, if there's anybody here who does tile or sells the tile, listen to me, Newark. It's the only thing we got left to do in the school. Put the tile on the concrete. So if there's any brothers and sisters here who lay it or know where we can buy it for a reasonable price, let me know. You got my number. We ready to move now. If you call me today, Dr. Umar, I got a tile supplier and I lay tile. What you want to charge me to cover up these 12 floors? Let's go. Once the tile done, we applying for certificate of occupancy. We done, y'all. Tile and done. So find me somebody who do tile. And ladies, if you lay tile, we can have a nice little tile party. At ease.
The foolishness of it all. In the building, we got our brother Siraj. Brother Siraj, you was checking that out, man. What are your thoughts?
What can I say? Umar's Umar. I think my whole thing on this on this situation is we place too many people, where it's at notoriety, we place too many people on pedestals. And I feel that there are, a number of brothers and sisters who are putting in that work in the community, but maybe not as popular. So when it comes to someone who's, because obviously he, is charismatic, when someone's charismatic, people just gravitate towards that, and I feel that the issue which has been going on for a long time is, at least a couple of decades or so, that people are still kind of approaching things from a popularity contest. Umar's got he speaks well. There's certain things he's spoken on when it comes to systemic racism and oppression, which resonates with people and so forth. But I feel if people focus on, because I remember I met the brother, I met him in person how many years ago? It was a long time ago. I met him in person in 2012, and I think this when he flew to the UK and he had one of his first events out here, and he came back, he returned in 2013, and I spoke with him personally about the documentary, the Man in the Mirror documentary I was producing. I was planning to produce, and I actually approached him to be in the documentary, and we kept in contact from that point. But all of a sudden, I didn't hear from him. But then obviously, I called up a couple of people who were in contact with him at the time. I said, "Yeah, I just heard from Umar yesterday." Obviously, these two people were sisters. So I was like, "Oh, okay." So I guess what I had to discuss with him wasn't as important, and I got in my feelings, I'm not gonna lie, I got in my feelings. But over time, I reflected on the situation, and I thought to myself, well, you know what, rather than continuing to be in that space, let me continue to work on making what I do in the community flourish, and continue networking, and eventually connect with other brothers and sisters who are doing the actual work. So I don't, when it comes to Umar, I've seen a number of situations which were questionable, but once again, there's always going to be someone who's going to defend him. I don't like really putting too much energy on him, and just focus on what needs to be done.
Right. But
So that's my take.
let me ask you though, do you see the problem with him just having access to our community? I mean, because I get what you're saying. This is why you and I forged our brotherhood, because we're literally doing the work without all the fanfare. I mean, you're traveling just like Umar, going from continent to continent. You hit the US, you go from state to state, promoting about Black men's health.
Yeah.
Do you think that this is a priority within our community, particularly Black first, Black nationalist, Pan-African, whatever you identify with as a Black man in this country, or even in the UK? How important is men's mental health? Not the women, not the children. How important is the men's mental health?
It's men's mental health is extremely important, because men's mental health is being affected, negatively through systemic racism and oppression. Yeah. And men need to navigate every single day of the week, just to keep their head above water, to make a living for themselves, to pay their bills, their rent, their mortgage, to look after their families. So men's mental health is something which is top priority. That doesn't necessarily mean our Black women, or the Black woman, and our children shouldn't shouldn't be a priority as well. But when the Black man's mental health is effective, then everything from that crashes down. It's like a domino effect. So if we are not taking accountability and the responsibility to do the necessary work, to work on our own self-development and our own healing, then we're gonna continuously live in a just chaotic space of being. We're going to continuously stay in a chaotic state of being. And one thing I've seen, because I've been in the community for a number of years, but the one thing I've seen is certain brothers, when they've gone through a certain upbringing, when it comes to trauma, or arrested development, and have not kind of dealt with some of their issues they've had in the past, you can see that play out when in their adulthood, in their so-called adulthood. You see that play out. And the problem is, I'm glad, because I've connected not just through you my great brother, but I'm glad that I've been connected with some really solid sisterins, one or two elders, who I've been communicating with over the years, and certain people, just to give me the right advice, because there was one point where I saw myself self-destructing, but I had to really sit down with myself and take some time out of community work by going to get some healing. I had to take some time out to go and get some healing, because I was really, it wasn't, you know, if things are affecting me, yeah, then it's obviously going to spill out over into the community, you know. But I had to also have those tough conversations, because when it comes to the black man's ego, it's very fragile. The black man's ego is fragile.
Yes.
So a lot of black men don't want to be told that you need to heal, you need to do this, you need to do that, because of our egos, you know, and most of us have it, whether people would admit it or not. So I had to take some time out, and it was obviously it was one of the best decisions to go and get therapy. Although obviously I'm at a different stage in my life where I'm more onto kind of moving away a lot of the Eurocentric kind of frameworks, but I wouldn't completely dismiss that if brothers and sisters haven't yet gone to therapy, you know, I would say that I would recommend it, because it's an experience, and the experience can still be useful, you know, as that stepping stone moving forward. And I think I don't think enough black men utilize that, or even look within, because when it comes to brothers, especially in the community, just like Umar, a lot of them focus on their public persona. They focus on like, let the spotlight, you know. I'm expecting that from certain sisters which like to just pose on Instagram. You understand what I'm saying?
Somewhere, going somewhere I want to go, but I don't want you to go there yet. I don't want you to go there yet. Again,
okay.
The public persona, right? And I'm loving that. I just want to respond to brother Jenny Ofalufish, right? So, brother Tad, how you feel with Marquette Burton willing to pay off Umar at the state of Delaware under certain circumstances so he won't lose the school and people who donated? Brother, again, shout out to you. My position is, because I heard clips and sound bites, I didn't watch the whole thing in its totality. But my summation, this is the opportunity, not just to save the school from, you know, being auctioned off, but also in the receipts on what's really owed and what has been paid thus far. We really get to see transparency should this deal go through. And I don't think it's going to go through, because Umar don't want to save the school. I mean, he wants to, but not with the assistance of anyone else, because then he can't be the King Kong of this thing. Back to brother Siraj's point about the public persona, about how you're perceived. So if somebody has to rescue him, the king can't be the king, at least in his summation. And also, brother Siraj, don't go nowhere, but I want you, in your expert opinion, I want you to take a look at.
Sorry, am I clear? I just want to know.
You're clear. I see you clearly. I just want to know
if I'm clear, because it's a bit choppy. I don't know if it's coming from my side or your side. So my apologies, brothers and sisters who are tuning in.
No, I'm sorry. And just so y'all know, brother Siraj is not FBA, but don't beat him up. We still love him. That's still my brother.
yeah, man. It's all love, man. Out here, man.
Yeah, and we're gonna get into that as well, because, you know, conversations you and I've had offline, and we can share with the community. But you talk about mental health, and you're talking about cracking, and you've been in that field for a while. Now, I'm no mental health expert, but this right here has given me some tell signs of somebody who ain't wrapped too tight.
FDMG Academy bank accounts are still frozen. Dr. Umar personal war against FDMG and Dr. Umar Ifatunde. We were supposed to get a refund within 4 days of our accounts being shut down. We were supposed to get a refund within 4 days of our accounts being shut down. We still haven't got our refund. We still haven't got our refund. We still haven't got our refund. So not only are the accounts frozen, make sure y'all hit my Venmo and my PayPal. PayPal.me/Umar the psychologist. PayPal.me/Umar the psychologist, or tap my Venmo. Text me for the links to donate to FDMG. Text me for the link to support Dr. Umar. 215-989-9858. 215-989-9858.
Now, family.
On August the 5th, brothers and sisters.
Hold on.
On August the 5th.
Real quick.
The city of Wilmington, Delaware.
Now, am I bugging out to have Apple and Venmo? Don't you have to have an active bank account? Put it. Somebody talk to me in the chat. Who has Venmo? To have Venmo, you have to have an active bank account, correct? I mean, if the brother is saying he's soliciting funds again, this is after the fact that we found out that he owes all this money. He said he can't get to his money, but he needs you to send it to what bank account? Why isn't he being transparent about that? Why isn't he saying, look, family, I had to set up another bank account, so let's put the money here, let's raise it. These are just critical questions I have as somebody with Venmo, PayPal, and Cash App. But let's continue.
Took out a notice to auction off the Frederick Douglass and Marcus Garvey Academy campus for unpaid vacant property registration fees. I repeat, on August the 5th, the city of Wilmington, Delaware, took out a lien to auction off the campus we bought, the campus we've been working on for 6.5 years. I was not notified of this. We were not notified of this. This past weekend, without an email, this past weekend, without a letter in the mail, this past weekend, without a phone call, the city of Wilmington put a notice on the door handle of both of our schools, informing me that if we don't pay the past due vacant property registration fees and outstanding utilities by the 25th of Black August, they will sell our campus. Brothers and sisters, can I ask you a question? Why were we not notified that they were going to try to sell our campus? Brothers and sisters, why are they trying to sell our campus at the very moment that our accounts are frozen? Brothers and sisters, is it a coincidence? Is it a coincidence? Is it a coincidence that the city of Wilmington is trying to sell properties that we own and have been working on continuously behind our backs? They were going to sell our schools behind our backs. They didn't even tell us that they were going to sell our schools. We received no notice in the mail. We received no notice by email. We received no phone calls at all. The door handle. Somebody stole one set of notifications and sent it to the YouTubian struggle streamers. Somebody stole the Frederick Douglass High School paperwork off the front door and sent to struggle streamers. But luckily for us, Sister Ra Ebony was able to get the paperwork off the Marcus Garvey School before the haters sold that paperwork. I believe, brothers and sisters, and please let me know your opinion. I believe, brothers and sisters, and please let me know your opinion. I believe, brothers and sisters, and please let me know your opinion. I believe that they were going to sell the school, and they wanted to sell the school before we found out. I believe that they wanted to sell the school before we found out. We were not supposed to know that they were going to sell our school. Why do I say that? We were given no notification. We received no letter in the mail. We received no email. We received no phone call that they were going to try to sell our schools. Instead, they put a notice on the door in a low-income neighborhood. They put a note on the door with rubber band and masking tape. They put a notice on the school front door with a rubber band and masking tape.
And
brothers and sisters, it gets worse. Back in April, when I found out about the overdue vacant property registration fees, I had asked the city of Wilmington if they could retroactively
what did he just say? But now, hold on.
I had asked the city of Wilmington if they could.
Yeah,
Brothers
Say
and
that
I don't
again,
know,
sisters,
man.
brother.
It's a
It
bit
gets worse.
choppy.
Back in April, when I found out about the overdue vacant registration,
Did he say back in
I had
April when they
asked the
told
city
him?
of Wilmington if they.
Did he just say back in April when they told him?
Why?
I know I ain't the sharpest crayon in the box. I know I ain't the sharpest crayon in the box. Brother Siraj, you hear me? Did this dude just say back in April?
Sorry, a bit
When
I don't know if it's a bit choppy. Is it choppy on your end, Tad, or is it my
just a
end?
little bit. Just
Yeah,
a
yeah,
little
yeah.
bit. You froze
It's
for a
picking
minute.
up quite a bit of feedback.
This dude said they didn't give him no notice. They was trying to sell the building from up under him. From up under us. I'm sorry, us the people. They froze our bank account. I can't ask how much money's in my bank account though. I can't ask how much money we collected, but now it's our bank account when he had an issue. Where
Yeah, I
we at
think
so far? 'Cause I don't even want to go through the whole video, but I just want to show the cap. This is Fat Joe size cap, dude, right here. The epic size cap. Like, am I bugging? He's sitting here telling the people that he had no notice. It came out of nowhere, no emails. I doubt he even looks at his emails or respond. He's pretty much homeless, so I doubt they got the right address. That's why they put it on that building. And Sister Fonessa said back in April, which means you knew you had to pay those fees, but kept sitting around the country bragging about being the most requested scholar. Amen, sis. Amen. He's jet setting around the world. He was in South Africa dishonoring Mandela for likes and views. Shaking my head, dude. I can imagine he's the most requested. Right,
yeah, I think it goes
They
back
gave
though.
no notice. Yeah, I'm listening.
Yeah, I think it goes back to what I was mentioning earlier in regards to letting the work speak for itself, you know, rather than trying to always feel the need. You know, and a lot of people ain't gonna understand this because yes, I get that you have to get the message out there. Yeah. But you know, there's already examples of people who are doing the work and so forth like that. And yes, everybody has their own ways where they have to use media. But I do remember once upon a time ago where Umar used to be selective of what platforms he would associate himself with, or what interviews to do. And now over the years I've seen him jump on all of these other platforms, getting into other subjects which are not necessarily related to what he specializes in, especially on the on the music platforms, on the hip hop platforms. And yes, I
Right.
know people,
That's
I know you want to reach a new audience, this, that, and the other, but not kind of steering away too much from that. When he talks about what he's talking about online, me personally, I don't think that's a conversation or it needs to be publicized. I don't think that is something which needs to be brought up in the general public, because for me, this is my personal opinion, I'm going to see that as being questionable. I'm going to see that as something being questionable, because at the end of the day, yeah, if there's an issue with finances or accounts, this, that, and the other, where's the team which are dealing with that? Can you not consult the team? Why do you feel? But because you have to also, when it comes to psychology, yeah, because the thing is, yeah, okay, he says he's the most requested, this, that, and the other, but there's hundreds of black child psychologists globally, or people who have the expertise, which are being overlooked right now, because once again, it's a popularity contest when it comes to brothers and sisters, when it when it comes to the community. So sorry, go on. Yeah,
want to bring my sister in real quick. I'm gonna give you the
Okay,
microphone
no
back.
problem.
Family, let's welcome to our sister Keisha, also known as Fighter. Sis, what's the word? How you feeling, Queen?
What's happening? What's happening? What's happening, y'all? What's happening?
Sure.
Yo, have you been checking out what we do?
I think you freezing up in chopping tags.
Okay.
Yeah, I did say that. How you doing, Sister Keisha? Hope all is well.
What's up, brother Siraj? What's good? What's
well,
happening?
Sister Keisha?
All is good, brother. All is good. I'm listening to y'all talking about Jermaine. But you know, there's listen, things needed to be done a long time ago. And like I said, you know, it started from the generation before him. There was no accountability back then either. The difference is that we live in a technological social media age. But I guarantee you, bad shenanigans was happening with the generation before him as well. So they weren't checked. So of course he won't be checked. And like I said, until there's a checks and balance system, until it can be beneficial to all across the board, I'm not rocking with it on any level.
I agree with that wholeheartedly. I agree with that. I 100%.
So dealing with the quote unquote community, who should have access to our community? I mean, people are saying they want to teach our children. People say they want to have, particularly Dr. Umar and others. And again, this is not to beat up on Dr. Umar specifically. He's a representation of what has been going on in the movement for a very, very long time. As Sister Keisha said, he's not the first one to scam. There's been generations prior of people doing this stuff. But as a community, what can we do to ensure these things stop happening? Because sure enough, it's Dr. Umar is outed right now, right? He also has an event coming up in Virginia. When do we start canceling these frauds?
Immediately. And see, that's why I like to talk about the history of things, because you know, like I said, I've been down since the 80s. And what happened is, like I said before, activism merged with Pan-Africanism. And there was no set of rules at all. At all. That's why on the show I talked about the high-profile cases that were taking place in the United States, which garnered or gathered, I should say, the Pan-African community. However, it merged into one. And that became problematic because any and everybody can come within, right? I come from an activist background. We work with the Pan-African community to get things done, somewhat, as far as justice when it came to these racial cases. Now, as far as how we coexist and what the rules and regulations should be on how we should carry ourselves, it was never, ever established. So everybody came in with their own ideals. And when you come in with your own ideals, you can do whatever you want. As Siraj just mentioned, it became a popularity contest. You know, like I said, I can tell y'all things about y'all greats that will blow your mind. But they didn't live in a social media age. So they weren't outed like that. But I guarantee you, if you look at some of the behaviors, it was pretty much the same. Pretty much the same. Yes, they had great scholarships, but they also were human. And we have a nasty habit of looking for a celebrity, if you will. I don't care if it's Jesus. I don't care if it's Dr. Clark. I don't care, whatever. Everybody want to attach themselves to some sort of popularity. You know, when I hear like our generation and after talk about Dr. Clark, Dr. Ben, none of y'all was ever there. So what you know is what somebody told you. I'm telling you because I was there. So, you know, and you know, a lot of waters got muddy. A lot of waters got muddy. When you look at Dr. Khalid Abdul Muhammad, who I respect 100%. And was ride or die for our people. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. There's no denying that. However, he was a man who had flaws. But when you look at somebody in a celebrity mindset and you hear certain things, you know, you don't know what Malcolm did outside of Betty or whatever. You can only speculate. You don't know. Attach yourself to an ideal. You weren't there. It's imaginary to you. That's why I always say, stick to your family. What's your family background? What your family say? What your mama and grandma and great-grandma say? What their great-grandpa say? Right. Stick to that, because when you deviate from that, you get, it's no different. The consciousness and Pan-African community is no different than celebrities and entertainers. It's no different. They were treated the same way. People got picked up at airports, dropped off at hotels. Shorties came to see him. One of your greatest scholars, if I tell you he had to stop at the Weed Man every time he came here before he put on any show. And that's just a fact. Before he put on any lecture, excuse me, because his scholarship is second to none. Right, but his scholarship is second to none. You know, one of my best as far as researchers, who I think, but he had to get him a blunt every time. But you wouldn't know that because you weren't on a pickup team and none of y'all was there. You see what I'm saying? So now we live in a technological age and everything is on Front Street. And you have to have the discernment. No, I'm not going to behave a certain way. Even though it may be pushed on me, I can't behave a certain way. Who do you account to? I have to account to my husband. I have to account to my children, my grandson. I got to account to my siblings, aunts and uncles. I got people I have to account to. You know my family, members on both sides of my family. And none of them will ever tell you that I was out of pocket in these streets. Right. We had them when we was on Straight Black Talk. We was on Straight Black Talk. We had cats I knew who was locked up for life, calling us on the phone, said Keisha's character is second to none. It's her character what made us love her. So again, when you step into this role, when you're put in a position of leadership, especially when you teach in a community, you have to have a bit of discernment. You have to know how to carry yourself in a certain way. And nobody, there is no checks and balance for anybody. I'm talking about male and female. Some of your greatest was out here out of pocket. So I'm just saying, think about that. Think about that. In your family, there's a checks and balance. You do something crazy, your mother gonna knock the piss out of you, or your pop's gonna knock the piss out of you. You're just not gonna talk any way that you want to talk to your family. That just don't go. But out here, you allow it? Nah. That's why, people approach me with a certain amount of, because I'm not with the shits. Don't come to me crazy because I'm going to read you exactly as you are. You know what I mean? And Brother Tad knows, big time politician here in New York. And I told Tad, watch when he come up in the room. He ain't even going to look me in my face because he know I know what time it is. That dude kept his head to the ground the whole time. Him and Jermaine. We were sitting at the same table. They didn't look at my face because they know I know your story for real. Not what's out here, not what you portray to the people.
Yeah, we all were reserved for the same table at Queen Mother Maddox Memorial Service. Please be a part. But I'd be remiss if I don't give a shout out to our brother Q Butter, who's on the check. When we talk about Black institutions and educating Black children, go check out Zayak's Institute by our brother Q Butter. XYAX. Zayak's. XY, or is it XYXAX? I forget how to spell Zayak's Institute. But Q Butter did it right. Q Butter, we got to get you up here soon too, bro. You know what I mean? Because again, this goes to our question, Sister Keisha. Who should have access to our children? Because a lot of time in this movement, we talk about doing things for children, but people don't even go get the accreditations or the support system, or even have a level of accountability to do what they say they're going to do, as well as produce the results that they said. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, thank you, bro. XYAYX, Zayaks Institute. Y'all Google that, research it, go to the website, do whatever you can to support our brother. You know, I remember when Q Butter was just talking about his idea. I think it was about a year or two ago. Me and Gutter popped in, and we had a conversation. But them little cards get lost, so we misplaced that. But Q Butter said, "Yo, brother Chad, remember when this was just an idea?" And I do, because Q Butter has his recording studio. He had a photography studio, barbering class in there. He was doing so much, but this is before he really opened up the school. He just used it as a community space to help educate young people. You know what I mean? And this is what we talking about. And again, nobody got to be perfect, because like Sister Keisha said, her life, I want to say quick, Sister Keisha, I'll pass you the mic back. Me and Sister Keisha didn't know that both sides of her family knew who I was, who I used to be when I was in the streets, when I was wilding. You know what I mean? Because I was out here. I was a YN at one point. You know what I'm saying? That's why I don't condemn my children so much. And that's why I implore us, those of us who say we care about the young people, to get engaged, get involved, create a program or support a program to give our children an alternative to what's easily available to them, aka the gang life, street life, whatever you want to call it. Because when I was a YN, I didn't have access to all of that. I'm glad I got my grades. That's why I don't die in my earned these. I'm glad to be here to live long enough to do something for our community. Our brother Q Butter established a space for our children to learn. They're learning robotics, STEAM, not even STEM, STEAM. And this is important that we educate our children. But I ain't gonna take too long, Sister Keisha. You was making I'm sorry. I just had to get that out of my system.
Yeah, and another thing, I have to say this because I work with many people. I've helped a lot of people. Like I said, that. Is no question. However, because I work with you and help you, and we may agree on certain things, don't mean that I adopt your ideology. And I think what I know, that's what got a lot of people confused on a lot of levels. Even like you mentioned, Zayaks Institute. There were independent Black schools in New York that caught all kinds of hell, starting from the Ocean Hill-Brownsville case. And, we have to talk about that history, because if they didn't catch that hell, Zayaks Institute wouldn't be. We fought in court to win cases so that Zayaks Institute can be. But you got to know that history. Who fought those cases? Like I said, UAM fought a whole lot of cases. Y'all have y'all talk about Black owned, you can do Black this and Black that. Please, we got sued so that you can. But you got to know that history. And when I came into UAM, I came in to help and work with my community. Not because I'm a Pan-Africanist, because I care about my community. So that question was never asked of me. Are you a Pan-Africanist? Are you a nationalist? No question was ever asked me. I have a nationalist belief system, Black nationalist belief system. But I've always worked with many different people to get the job done. You know what I mean? And a lot of waters got muddy, and a lot of people adapt feel-good idealism, and that's a problem. That's why people like Polite, Jermaine, whoever, they can attract such large crowds, because you addicted to that kind of formula for solution, right? You idolize Malcolm, you idolize Martin, you idolize Garvey. What did you do? Yeah, they had a moment in time and they made some progressions, but what do you do when you have to keep regurgitating what was in the past? That means your ass ain't doing nothing now, and you ain't got a plan for the future. I don't have to stand on nobody else's resume. You should be able to stand on your own resume. What are you doing? Dr. Clark brought us this far, But that doesn't mean the information stops where he stopped. No, you keep going. It's more research and information out there. And those of you who weren't old enough or alive back then, when I sat at the man's feet, that's what he said. He said, I'm bringing you here. Your job is to research more. He always said that. Dr. Ben said the same thing. I could say it because I was in rooms with them and y'all wasn't. So I'm just telling you what it was. I said it before. I love Amos Wilson. Love that brother. When it comes to the psychology of folks, none better than Amos Wilson to me and Dr. Patricia Newton to me. Now, some people say, well, they adapt to the ways of Dr. Frances Cress Welsing. Well, do you know when she was writing that book, there were journalists that she asked to proofread and edit her materials, and they went back to her and told her they have problems with this theory? One journalist in particular was Utrice Lee. But you don't know that. You see what I'm saying? Because they didn't live in a social media world. Y'all don't know that kind of stuff. And that's why I never adopt to anybody's idealism. My own is what I ride on, period.
Yes. Sister Keisha, I see people in the chat. Yo, shout out to everybody in the chat, especially my brother Hamza, who talked about Ocean Hill, Brownsville. And the Oba 5377 mentioned G2Y Usi in the Uhuru South School. Talk about that real quick, Sister Keisha, because I don't think folks understand what came out of Brooklyn, what Baba G2Y Usi did that made so much of this possible.
Sorry about that. Sorry.
I can't hear you,
can you hear me now? Are we good? You hear me, Tad? Okay, good.
Yep.
All right. So you asked about G2Y Usi and the Uhuru Sasa School, right?
Yes.
Do you want the information of, you know, what the task was to get all of that done? Or do you want to know the story of G2 from what I know? Because, see, there's two different things, and this is what I'm saying.
Oh,
listen.
I want to talk to the school.
Okay. All right, we'll stay there.
The fight that he that everybody can, you know, open an African-centered school, a school for our children.
Okay. All right. So he was a teacher. In fact, he was one of my math teachers when I was going to Sands. But anyway, that's another story. But him working with other teachers realized that there was a problem with educating our students. So he fought gallantly, and I got to give him that. Him, Mtume, a whole bunch of them fought for this program to be successful. They recruited people in education who can join in and help with these children. They had day camp programs. They had science programs, all different kind of programs right there in the heart of Bed-Stuy. But that came out of a necessity of what we didn't have, right? Wow, it's hard to tell this story. Okay. Yeah, I'm just gonna leave it at that. They worked very hard to get the job done because I don't want to disparage his character, especially for those who follow his ideology or respect him. But there were some problems there as well. And you had some teachers who talked about, you know, how things started shifting, where it was community activism. And then it went into a particular type of Pan-African fundamentalist, and, you know, where people wanted to have multiple wives and all this whole kind of foolishness. And that's what I'm saying. We can't, I'm sorry, Tad, we can't leave part of the story out because I don't want our people to fall into these traps again with worshiping people. Yes, he did great work as far as educating the youth of Brooklyn. I have to give him that. But when things begin to progress, he started to change a little bit, you know. And if you watch, I forget the documentary, it's on Amazon Prime about Uhuru Sasha School and how it all started. But you can watch that on Amazon Prime. I'll get the title for it before this show is over, so y'all can see that I'm not lying, because you know, women were turned off. No, I don't want to be a part of no goddamn harem and all this old kind of stuff, you know. And I'm not trying to be disrespectful to him, his family, or anything like that. Please forgive me if I come off that way, but there's a lot intertwined in that. And a lot of people went into polygamy. They started, it all comes out of that umbrella. And that's what I'm saying. When you don't have any rules, things can sway very easily, you know, very easily. Even how he ended up getting a place that, you know, was the jazz club, you know. There was some things worked out behind the scenes, you know. Mr. Sharpton was given some money, and he had to spread that money out to black leaders, or who y'all call black leaders in the community, so that Michael Bloomberg could get a third term. That's what happened. So again, you know, until you know the real backstory, I'm not idolizing nobody. And I promise y'all, I'm standing on truth. So, you know, like I said, I don't want to disrespect him. I don't want to because, you know, he is deceased and he has family out here, you know. But watch the documentary and then hit me up and let me know, Sister Keisha, you was absolutely right. You was absolutely right. So I'll get that for y'all before the show is over, so that y'all can watch it and you see what I'm saying, what I'm trying to say in a roundabout way without being totally disrespectful to his family, his legacy, and people who respect what he did. Like I said, the work was good, but the man had flaws, serious flaws, you know, and that's why you should never idolize anybody. Don't get caught up in, do the work, period. That's all. That's all I can tell y'all. Do the work. Don't get caught up with nobody. Nobody. I count to my family. So, that's it.
Yeah, so I asked this question, right? So, but again, Baba Jitu was qualified to educate the children. Right or wrong? He had the credentials.
Absolutely. Without a doubt. Again, without a doubt. Without a doubt.
See, Sister Keisha, it's funny because, I mean, we've been around for a while. We've been around, you know, we haven't been popular. We haven't been well known in the movement, but we have done the work. And I think that's so important because, shout out to Lynn and Anna. He be on Dr. Umar's line. Him and another brother, I forget his name, but they found Dr. Umar's dissertation, right? Which qualified him to quote unquote become a doctor. They said, what they said is what I've realized when I read Dr. Umar's book back in 2014 or 2016. When I read Dr. Umar's book a long time ago. And he said in his dissertation, he did a lot of citations of Dr. Jawaza Kunjufu. And that's exactly what I saw when I read the psychoacademic Holocaust against Black boys. And I hope I'm not losing the people who don't read. You know, we're readers over here, right? And what was so crazy was that they cited that. And what I was telling people when I read that book, I said, all this is a hodgepodge of Dr. Amos Wilson and a lot of doctors, because I read Countering the Conspiracy to Destroy Black Boys, books 1, 2, and 3, and Developing Positive Self-Images in Black Children. I read those books as well as Amos. The first book I ever read by Dr. Amos Wilson was The Developmental Psychology of the Black Child back in 1996 or 7, I want to say. It was in the late 90s, mid to late 90s, I read that book. And of course, then I read Awakening the Natural Genius in Black Children, as well as Understanding Male Adolescent Black on Black Violence or something like that. I forget because I read them so long ago. And Dr. Amos Wilson write a lot of books on psychology.
Yes.
I realized that people that quote Dr. Amos Wilson only sees a video on YouTube, but seldom have read the book, because had they read the book, they would have saw Dr. Umar's book is a replica of the works that was already done by the ancestors with no original thought and idea or even updated information, as you suggest. Whatever we learn from the master teachers and the elders, we're supposed to build on top of that. That's our instructions from the master teachers, if nothing else. Take what I leave and you build on top of it. Dr. Clark didn't know about AI. Dr. Ben didn't know about it. These dudes wasn't citing chat and things like that, or let alone even had YouTube. I mean, YouTube was around.
Dr. Clark had passed before all of that came about.
However, technology is advanced and
I think you freezing
work
up,
don't
Chad.
stop because the frauds are being exposed. And I don't want people to get discouraged. Okay, am I good now? You see my hands moving?
Yes.
Sis, am I moving now?
I see your hands. You're a little bit blurry, but I see you. We see you.
That's all right. That's good. Long as you hear, right? And
oh, sorry. Before you go, Ted, the documentary is called "The Sun Rises in the East." It's on Amazon Prime. It will tell you everything you know, everything you want to know about G2YUC, his program, and the aftermath. The Sun Rises in the East on Amazon Prime. You watch it and you come back and you talk to Sister Keisha and you'll say, "Yep, she was right." But go ahead.
Yeah, my apologies, family. I had to jump out for a moment.
That's all right, brother. Now, yo, life is life, and for everybody, brother Divine Funny, just stick and move, right? But here's the thing, and then I want to get our brother Siraj in here too because he's doing the work. Just because we see these leaders and they're fumbling the ball, fumbling the bag, I definitely want to highlight brothers like Q Butter, Marcus Klein, Baba Baruti, anybody who has an independent school. You know what I'm saying? Huru Academy down in Dallas, you know, again, the work has to continue, though we find flaws in some of these leaders, because again, we're all human, we're all men, none of them are perfect, right? Let me preface it with that. However, the work has to continue, and we can't get in position by exploiting the people. The reason I'm so hard on Dr. Umar is because I believed him. I believed in him. Not only did I believe in him, I exposed my children to him, put him up on his teachings. He had access to my children. He spoke to my youth group a couple of times. You know what I mean? And I'm peculiar on who I let around my young people. These are young, impressionable minds. These are sponges. And now they remember him. They used to look up to him, post their pictures with him. And again, I take this personal because I fancy myself a custodial warrior of the community. I fashion myself as the gatekeeper to keep certain people out of our area because, again, we have our children here, we have our elders here, we have each other, brothers and sisters. We have to be each other's keeper. But whenever we have charlatans, we can't support them. We have to cancel them. I just posted earlier Dr. Umar's Instagram page where he got all of these engagements lined up. And my thing to the community is, why aren't we holding his feet to the fire? Why aren't we canceling him? We see the jig is up and he's still asking for more money and nobody seems to be offended. Everybody's giving him an out. And again, the work has to continue, but those of us who are sincere about the work really have to take charge and gatekeep a little. Brother Raj, what do you want to say to that?
Unmute, Siraj, unmute.
Okay, it's my apologies. So yeah, I'm gonna add to that, and I'm gonna say the ego is one of the biggest issues. And if a brother cannot get to the stage of admitting that, you know what, I've messed up, I need that help. Yeah, brothers and sisters who are in these positions to be supportive, where I can at least come to you and you take over. You understand, and try to make some sort of amend. If a brother can't get to that stage, then the ego is going to be the downfall. So we can't then start saying, well, people, if he had enough donations or if he had this, that, and the other. No, it's not about that, because at the end of the day, we need to get the arrogance. We need to cut the arrogance. We need to cut the arrogance. It's about understanding that you're in hot water right now, yeah, and you need to have the courage to admit that you're in hot water. But the way, obviously, he's doing it, obviously, once again, I don't agree with it. I know there's certain brothers and sisters out there who will, and that's up to them. But once again, when it comes to this whole favoritism popularity show, it's doing more damage. It's doing more damage than it's doing than justice. You know, it's doing more damage and justice. And I know people know him personally, you know, who and there's always going to be a bias, because when you know someone personally, there's always going to be a bias, you know. But if your brother and sister can hold you accountable, yeah, if your brother and sister can hold you accountable, yeah, without you always feeling the need to be getting into your feelings, then that brother and sister is right for you. You need that, bro. It's like drinking bitters. It's like drinking bitters.
Yes.
You know that the bitters taste, it leaves a lingering taste in your mouth, which don't taste good or don't taste appealing, but you have to take it because of what the bitters does for your body. So that's you know, that's my whole take when it comes to the situation. Because as I said, I've watched this brother online since 2010. I met him in person in 2012, and after from 2013, 14, that's what I was seeing slow. You know, I was seeing certain issues occur. As you said, brother Tad, no one's perfect, but at the end of the day, if you can't consult or if you can't, you know, speak to an elder or somebody who can, like, you know, put you in check, but do it in a way where they're putting you in check respectfully, but you know, making you see sense, then there's going to be a problem. You can't come in this community and be like F everybody. You can't do it, you know.
Right. So he can't be the most requested scholar no more?
I'm tired of that, man. I don't want to be hearing that no more. To be honest, I'm tired of it. I'm tired of
it. You know, and I have to say this because, you know, I'm a person to person. If I got an issue with Tad, I'm gonna talk to Tad. I'm not gonna talk to Siraj about my issue with Tad. I'm gonna talk to Tad. Period. And vice versa, he's gonna talk to me. He's not gonna talk to you about the issue, he's gonna talk to me. And that's how it should be. That's how it should be. But unfortunately, when people do try to check this behavior, you know, I know Q tried to check it one time. I know for certain Ashe did. And I'm gonna check that female.
Yes.
For what she talked to, the way she talked to Ashe. Just on GP. Yes. I don't give a damn how old she is. You had no business stepping to that man the way that you did. Because if Ashe was on something, he could have popped out her mouth. But then he would be wrong for doing that. But you jumped in his face. So since you jumped in his face, and I see him as my little brother, I'm going to jump in your face. And that's just how it's going to be.
Keisha, refresh people of who Ashe is and what it is about for those who may not understand or know.
Ashe is my brother from another mother. We met many years ago when he used to come to UAM forums. Ashe used to be our co-host on Thorough Black Talk. He is one of the founders of Thorough Black Talk. Me, Tad, and Ashe, nobody else. And Straight Black Talk, nobody else. It was us three, period. We came in Straight Black Talk because Tad wanted to do Straight Black Talk. He not riding without me, and we brought the young lion in, period. It was no ego stuff. There's no ego stuff.
Right.
We never did that with each other. I don't know. I guess we from Brooklyn and we move different. But I'm just saying, when I see stuff that's out of pocket, even when I was with UAM and I saw shit out of pocket, that's how I got sat down. Because I question every goddamn thing. Everything. If it don't look right, it don't smell right, it ain't right. And I don't care who say it. So, you know, I had to get sat down for that. I don't give a damn. Straight black pride. I don't give a damn. If it's not on the up and up, then goddamn it, I'm gonna say something about it. I don't care. But unfortunately, not everybody feels the same way that I do, and not everybody operates the same that I do. You're not gonna be out here disrespecting us, and especially in my name. Now that ain't gonna rock with me, partner. That ain't gonna rock. So I don't like what she did. She had no business. First of all, you had two men going at it. You had no business in that. Mind your business. Period. I don't like that. Recently, she reached out to me for an event, and I text back, fuck out of here. And she didn't respond back. So I'm not playing. I don't like that. I don't like that. When people operate with integrity, and all Ashe did was ask the question, yo, what's up with this school? We gave you a lot of donations. You pulling up, you in my city, Ashe said. Right. So now you in my city, I'm going to have to check this behavior. But all of them elders, you know, except for, as King Simon mentioned on Doggy Diamonds the other day, except for Phil Valentine and Dr. Jeffries, everybody rock with it. And I'm sorry, it's a lot of the ladies that doing the bullshit. I'm sorry. These old ladies and these Gen X ladies, hoes and enablers. I don't give a damn what they say. I'll tell them in their face, you a hoe and an enabler. And that's what's been going on. Period. Ooh. Period. So, you know, leave me alone with the nonsense. We got to correct certain behaviors. At least if you ask me to join with you to help you on something, if your character ain't right, the answer is no. It's no hate, but I have integrity. Every time I let my guard down and I went against my gut, it bit me in the behind. Every time. Happened to me twice. It will never happen again. You will not get a third. So if people in the community are questioning you and you call me, yeah, I'm going to say, you know what? I would like to do that, but there was a certain situation. I don't know if you heard about it, but the people got an issue with you. So can you address that? And if the person come back and say, you know what? I don't want to talk about that. Well, goddamn it, lose my number. Lose my number. Right. Don't call me no more and figure that out on your own. That's what it is. And that's where we're moving right now with this reparations push that we got all across the country. I've helped a lot of people. And when I see people from other groups come and try to disrupt that, I got a goddamn problem with that. Because like I said, it was the 100 Blacks in Law Enforcement Who Care, Nation of Islam, who are FBA organizations. They're the ones that put the brakes on Dominique Strauss-Kahn getting out of New York when he essayed that lady, that Senegalese woman, Miss Diallo. It was me, Miss Vera, and Deidre in the goddamn heat getting these signatures to drop off at the district attorney's office so that this man could be stopped. The most powerful man in the world. FBA stopped him. Now, when we up there fighting for reparations, I can't find a fucking Senegalese nowhere to advocate for us. So yeah, the buck stops here. It's a hard line in the sand. I'm not rocking with it no more. I'm not. If you're not rocking with me, to hell with you and yours. Get it how you get it. Period.
Ooh. Our sister K Fighter, as Professor Carl Tone Jones said, is on fire. Brother Siraj.
Yes.
Your first thoughts.
Sir.
Yeah. For those who don't know, tell them your bloodline and lineage, and then share with us your first thoughts on FBA and what do you think about FBAs now?
Okay, so my let me see if I can you guys see me? I know I'm in the dark and stuff like that.
Yeah, your light went out.
So yeah, my bloodline is Yoruba. So my parents were born and raised in Nigeria. My mom came pregnant with me to the United Kingdom in the early 80s. So, you know, that kind of gives away my age. So yeah, you know, during that time and even prior to that time, there were a lot of Nigerians who were coming over to the United Kingdom because of
shortly before that, the Biafra war and so forth. So there was some politics and issues going on with in Nigeria in regards to tribalism and other stuff. And yep, I'm definitely a proud Nigerian, but also I'm one of those Nigerians because I'm born over here and I don't got a certain type of accent. Although people say my accent's not thick UK because obviously I've got different, you know, I've come from the streets. I've also went to private school when I was young. I've got so many different, you can't really pinpoint it, you know, I just have a mixture of all different things, you know. Even today, you know, in certain environments, even a lot of my own Nigerian people, and I know Godfrey the comedian has said this, will say, yo, you ain't Nigerian. And I get that all the time, where I have to even stop them and even correct them, give them a bit of history and self-reflection, like my, you know, my project, the Man in the Mirror project, you know, in order for those to understand, okay, you know, this guy really appreciates his culture. So yeah, you know, obviously I was born over here, so I'm not automatically gonna have a thick Nigerian accent, you know, use your common sense. So for me, you know, I've been in the community for going on almost 15 years now, and I've been a participant for probably the past 12 years. I think 12 years now. And I've been coming to the States just over 10 years, and you know, I've been building with brothers and sisters, and I've also appreciated I've appreciated a lot of the movements what have been happening out there. And that's not to say, that doesn't take away from what other brothers and sisters have accomplished around the world. But one thing I've respected is brothers and sisters fighting for, you know, the liberation from our people, you know, and it's not just for the US, it's like brothers and sisters globally. So, you know, I get it, you know, everybody has, you know, their own, you know, takes and everything with FBA. But at the beginning, I wasn't too familiar with it until, like, you know, Tariq Nasheed started talking or having his take on FBA and stuff. You know, I ain't gonna front, you know, I wasn't really a fan of Tariq Nasheed like that, you know, each to their own and stuff like that. But there are other brothers and sisters in the community in the United States who I respect and so forth, who have their own take on FBA as lineage. And you know, I've had this discussion with big sister Keisha, and I've had this discussion with you, Tad, before and stuff. And I'm always open minded. So I'm gonna ask, okay, you educate me. You know, you educate me, and when I received the education, I've respected it, not because there's a bias, because of my relationship with both of you, but it also made me understand, oh, okay, this is the way you're coming from, you know. And you know, we've had this discussion, Tad, and Tad knows, obviously, that's not to say he knows part of his lineage is African, this, that, and the other, you know. And but for me, obviously, how I come into the mix is, you know, I'm for my brothers and sisters which stand for our people, you know, as long as they're not behaving like Sambos, you know, in the community, it's all good. It's all good in the hood. It's all good for me, you know. And I appreciate it. So for me, I think as I age, not just in years, but as I age in experience, I have to deal with certain situations differently from how I used to deal with it before, because obviously people who know me throughout the years and stuff know that I've got one of the worst temperaments globally. I know everybody says that and stuff like that. So I'm trying to keep myself outside the jail. I'm trying to keep myself outside of jail. So I don't like coming on Facebook or social media or anything like that. So we've got some light now. I don't like coming on certain platforms, just getting irate, just getting just having a certain outburst, because you know it's not really healthy. You know, I know we're all passionate and stuff, and I get it. You know, but for me, I can work just like Sister Keisha, who's explained on a number of occasions, not just on the show, but also to me and other people she close with. You know, she has fought for brothers and sisters, you know, who are not foundational Black Americans and stuff like that. But once again, it's about kind of hearing people's take. It's about having these conversations more often, getting different people on board, and obviously having these conversations where we learn, rather than getting into situations where we're getting into unnecessary clashes. You know, I'm too old for that. You know, and you guys are you guys senior me. That's why I call you guys big brother and sister. You know,
Yes.
so I don't necessarily have an issue, as long as it's not trying to separate us, where we're being played like pawns against each other, you know. So that's the, you know, that's my only concern, you know. Okay, so there's a question.
Somebody has a question for you. Our brother Divine from Brooklyn. Yeah, he said, "What's your take on the tribalism in Nigeria amongst your people?"
Yeah, it's thank you, bro, for asking that question. It's colonialism, and people still, as you said earlier, Tad, certain people still live in the past. So at the end of the day, how does it benefit you by getting involved these tribal wars? You know, you all live in Nigeria, and I'm sure you're all experiencing the same oppression by those in power. So what's the point? You know, you Igbo, so what? So just because, so you have an Igbo person down the road who's selling you fish or something, you ain't gonna buy from him if you need to obviously feed your family because of you know, because he's not the same tribe. You know, to me it's a nonsense. I don't necessarily get involved with it. You know, there's obviously people's own theories, and you know how Igbos and Yorubas have kind of came up, and just how we interact in general. You know, people would say a lot of the Yorubas are educated, you know, in regards to educated through the system, where a lot of the Igbos are known for business. You know, a lot of Igbos are business owners and stuff like that. By the end of the day, we all have, whether you Igbo, Yoruba, whether you from, you know, whether you would call it, whether it's FBA, African American, Trinidadian, whatever, all you guys are my brothers and sisters, you know. And at the end of the day, you know, when we see that police officer being enraged, who's about to pull the trigger, he ain't gonna be thinking whether you from Nation of Islam, whether you 5% Nation, whether you from Hebrew Israelite, whether you from Ghana and this, that, and the other. They're gonna shoot you. They're gonna shoot you and so forth. So, for
my sister have a question. Another question, brother Siraj. I don't want you to be in the hot seat for all things Nigerian today, but
no,
our sister Vanessa want to know, how do you feel about Nigerians leading the charge to put us in the AU and speaking on our behalf for reparations to take it and build up Africa and Nigeria in particular? Are you familiar with that?
Can you repeat that question? Let me read. Repeat the question for me, Ty, please.
How do you feel about Nigerians leading the charge to put us in the AU and speaking on our behalf for reparations to take it and build up Africa and Nigeria?
When you say speaking on behalf, are you saying for foundational Black Americans? Or are you?
Yes.
Yes. Oh, in charge to put us in. Speaking on our behalf. Well, I don't think Nigerians should be. Well, it depends. I think if Nigerians are there to be supportive, yeah, then I think it's a great thing. But I don't feel that Nigerians should intervene too much. You understand? Because obviously it could be sensitive. Unless Nigerians are going to stand aside with FBA's African Americans, if they're going to stand beside them, yeah, to do the work, then it's all good. Like I personally, you know, I'm not an American citizen. Yes, you know, I've got like a visa and so forth, and I could stay in America for a certain period of time before I have to leave and so forth. But I wouldn't expect reparations from it doesn't make sense for me to expect reparations from the USA because I wasn't born there and stuff like that. I know there's obviously Nigerians who are citizens, and for what reason, probably for a few reasons, they may feel that they're entitled to reparations. But I just think, to me, it shouldn't be a focus for them to, because at the end of the day, it's just, I don't know. For me, it shouldn't be a focus.
It's bad
You know, because
business.
if we can't,
it's bad business. Yeah, no,
sorry.
I agree with you, bro. It's bad business. I agree with you, and that's pretty much what our position is. You know, all African or Black countries, whatever you identify as, if you feel you owe reparations, do that on your terms, your land base, because the issue we have here in America as FBAs, and I'm not sure if you've been following what's going on with the Nigerians around the world, but you know, you see there's civil unrest with the Ghanaians and the Nigerians over in Ghana. The Dubai just put out an order that you have to be a particular age to come to Dubai now if you're Nigerian. And it's unfortunate. Say it again, sis.
South Africa too.
Yeah, South Africa too. So we take issue as FBA because we've been fighting for this for centuries. Truth be told, this is the part of Dr. King's story that's constantly left out, about his demand for reparations and him organizing for Black people in America to get reparations. You know, these are some of the stories that's left out when we talk about the life of Johnny Cochran. He was bigger than just helping OJ get off, you know, or get him exonerated, whatever you want to call it. But these people were big on foundational Black Americans receiving compensation for our mistreatment as well as our forced free labor. Nigerians, and of course, this is not you per se, but Nigerians didn't have a nickel in this quarter. And now they want to lead the AU in the worldwide representative of reparations. And they want to put the US under them to join the African Union. Even though Sister Keisha and myself had ties with the African Union, with Dr. Africana, you know, the issue is, we don't want nobody speaking for us but us, and not just a person whose bloodline is a foundational Black American, but a person that understands the history and the little nuances, even like a brother Divine from Brooklyn or a sister Brooke who really understands our plight. This is what's happening right now. So when we delineate, we say, yo, we foundational Black Americans, just like you can trace your bloodline back to Nigeria, you know, where your mother's from, your first generation UK, correct?
Mm-hmm.
You know, but you can go back to Nigeria. You can't claim Uganda. You can't claim South Africa because your family is from Nigeria, for as far back as you know. The issue that we have as foundational Black Americans, many of our grandparents have told us who we were, but we were made fun of. We were told that we don't like ourselves. We've been called pretendians and all kinds of funny stuff when we say, yeah, I got Indian in my family.
Yeah.
They say when Black people say that, that's a myth. That's not true. However, when you read the textbooks by the quote unquote master teachers, whether it's Van Sertima, Dr. David M. Otep, or you name it, they talk about the Black presence in America prior to European invasion. But for some reason, some folks don't believe that the Black people who were here when the Europeans were here are still around. Their bloodline still exists. So it's almost as if identity of Europeans and saying our history in America started with slavery. Many Pan-Africans start from that premise that we were not here prior to Europeans. All Black people came here through slavery, but somehow they seldom acknowledge the free Black people that were written in the text that were here when the enslaved Africans came. And what's happening is there's an antiquated rhetoric, and I'm gonna get off my soapbox, but there's an antiquated rhetoric that all Black people in America came through slavery, even though our grandparents who spoke to their grandparents, passed down the oral tradition of where we came from. Because we always say it takes at least 100 people to make one you. You get 2 parents, 4 grandparents, 8 great-grandparents, 16 great-great-grandparents. We already have 30-something right now in 4 generations. 4 generations, we already have 30-something people, and the number keep doubling. We, as foundational Black Americans, not just from a genealogical position, but also an historic and political position as the residents who's been here during slavery, because we recognize kidnapping clubs that if you weren't brought over here in chains, they would come to free territories and take you out of here in chains and then put you on the plantations. That's what kidnapping clubs did. So even if you was a free black person like Solomon Northup, you could still be kidnapped and sent down to a plantation and turned into a slave. Then we had Jim Crow law. When we say foundation, we talking about people who literally built this country and then fought for all the rights, because there would be no 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment without the fight and resistance of Black Americans in this country. So we're pivotal in the formation and the framing of the U.S. Constitution that everybody who's not from this soil comes here and enjoy. So when we say foundational, that's all we mean. I've seen Africans and Caribbeans say Black people don't know who they are. I don't know where they get that from, because many Black Americans could literally trace their family back for centuries. I don't know too many Caribbeans and Africans who could literally do that.
And that's true, my brother. That's the. I don't want to cut your OG wisdom, but yeah, that's true, brother. I feel also it's about and this goes back to even the earlier on the show with the topic was focused on Umar. It goes back to who's qualified. It's like it's and the reason why I'm gonna bring up Umar again is like with Umar, he came out and he was he presented himself as a Black child psychologist. Child psychologist. That's your field.
And the descendant of Frederick Douglass.
Yeah,
and the descendant of Frederick Douglass. Don't forget that part too.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So he came out as a Black child psychologist. Yeah, just like I think with Nigerians, it's we also have to look at motive, because everything is about motive, and I feel the purpose of having these conversations is so we can learn, because at the end of the day, yes, I've read a number of the scholars' books as well. I never claim to be. I'm always learning. Every time I learn something new, I'm like, I don't know a thing, so I don't jump into certain lanes. I might use parts of certain, whether it's quotes from what I've read and implement that into my work or the presentation and stuff like that. But I ain't gonna give you no in-depth history lesson with any African American FBA history. I might give you small snippets because I leave that for the scholars. And anytime I've done my online events and so forth, I've always called upon those who are knowledgeable in their area. I stand back, you understand? Because I stay in my lane. My lane, everybody knows I'm the mental health guy, so I stay in my lane. But the problem with that is also the ego, because even when you say stay in your lane, people take offense, But if you specialize in what you specialize in your lane, you should be proud of it. You don't need to be jumping in another person's lane like being a guest on Vlad's couch. You don't need to be doing that. So for me, it's one of those. For me, it's just one of those things where I think, as and I'm not saying this about all Nigerians. I think we have to, because a lot of Nigerians, we have to learn how to be modest in when it comes to situations which don't fully concern us. That doesn't necessarily mean we can't get involved in other ways, but there's a way of having certain conversations, and we should be asking us, okay, how can we get involved? And that's in all situations. You understand? And I think the problem is a lot of our brothers and sisters globally, there's certain brothers and sisters who are on certain platforms who don't know how to let go of the ego. We need to also learn how to work together, but also learn effectively. So we have to be, asking. We can't just impose. So for example, like I remember I did an event just to test the waters. I remember I came out in 2018 to Memphis and I did an event It was Sister Jasira Olatunji who hosted me. And you
Shout
know,
out to
I
Sister.
said, just as an icebreaker, I said I am not better than anyone in this room, because I know how certain Nigerians have messed up. I know how they've messed up things for even, but although people say I didn't even need to gain that, because with me it's just natural. People just naturally gravitate to me. I even have people homeless what talk to me every time I come out there, just different, because I don't come with an energy where I feel like I'm better than anyone. Yes, I say certain things which are very controversial online. I've been doing that for years. I'm the question guy. People know that, and I've had all sorts of people in my inbox, elders saying, no, I didn't. I had to look within. I had to look at myself. This, I know things I wouldn't even expect for people to say, but this is through growth and experiences I've gone through. But at the same time, I have to give credit where credit's due. I have to. That's just how it is. So as a Nigerian, when I come out to the States, there's no imposing. I'm observant. I'm just there doing my thing, and it's all love. And that's probably why I don't really get that go through the issues a lot of Nigerians may go through out there, because I don't have a motive of trying to impose that, I'm here because I need reparations, or I don't, that's not my lane. So I don't get involved. Yeah.
Now I agree with you. You know why? Because when I go to Africa, I do the same exact thing. I mind my black ass business. I hear the conversations about Ghanaian politics, and I don't have a nickel in that quarter. Of course, I have my own opinion, and I only express it once it's asked of me. You know what I'm saying? As an outsider, how does this look to you? What do you think about this? Because when I'm in Africa, I listen to the talk radio. I don't really listen to music stations. I listen to the politics. And I realize as Black Americans, we are very far ahead in so much. You know what I mean? We are so far ahead, and we got to realize how fortunate we are. Unfortunately, in a Pan-African community, and this is not all, but many don't understand, and a lot haven't made that journey to the motherland yet. They haven't been to the continent. So what they're doing is romanticizing book of ideas from books that were written by people who haven't gone yet, or scholars who went for a particular purpose just to do research to dismiss the rhetoric that Black people have no history, that we haven't done anything. Because prior to Dinknish being discovered, what they call scientific Lucy, it was once believed that all life came out of Asia and Europe, which they call Eurasia. The term Caucasian comes from the Caucasus Mountains, which is territory in Georgia, Russia, where Johann Friedrich Blumenbach said all white people come from. He said all humanity come from the Caucasus Mountains. He said because all skeletons are white, it stands to reason the default color of humanity must be white. So the whiter you are, the more original you must be. So it stands to reason that white people are the original humans on the planet. And the further down you go, the less human you are. So when it comes to the Negroid race, we are not human. We haven't done anything. But this is prior to folks really getting access to information of the Greek scholars, like what's his name, Pythagoras, who learned from Imhotep and the like. You know, we could go on for days. I'm not trying to make this a history lesson, but I'm talking about the psychology of the Pan-African, of where we were when we developed this ideology that everything is African-centered, not realizing that Black people around the world, because in Pan-Africanism, you make everything Black African. And that's problematic, because when we see Indians, Hindus, who are darker than you, Brother Siraj, do we acknowledge them as Black African people? No. We can say their ancestry was, but by all intents and purposes, here in America, they bastardized the language. So when we say Black, it's a noun, when Black is actually an adjective. It only describes a noun. A Black person is describing the color of a person, like white is a description of a person. But within this psychosis of westernized philosophy and ideas, we made adjectives nouns. Look at men saying they women now, women saying they men, like all these weird pronouns. And we don't understand that in resistance, we operate in the same psychology. I hope I'm making a little bit of sense. you know, to where everything they say, we use that as the foundation of our thought processes. And we have to divorce that because there's new information always coming up. And we have to operate on the new information. Once we get updated information, we pivot from that direction and then move to the next. Black Americans have been the only people in mass, really promoting and operating in the spirit of Pan-Africanism. We see continental Africans not operating in that spirit. Now, many of us have went to the continent and realized there is definitely a difference because as you stated earlier, you know, there's a difference between the Yoruba and the Igbo and the likes, you know. Somebody asked a question, I think it was Black T, that asked something about the people uniting in Nigeria. Is there efforts to unite Nigeria and make that one nation? Which is, you know, this is just a question that's thrown out there. However, that question is important because once, let's say Nigeria unite, but now will they unite with Ghana? Will they unite with Togo, Burkina Faso? You know, so we're talking about united Africa when Africa itself is not united. So we go. It's almost like, and I'm gonna step off my soapbox, but I'm gonna use the analogy of Hollywood. California probably has the biggest homeless population that we know of in the United States, right? But everybody thought they would go to Hollywood and become this big Hollywood star. They go there, they're delusional, go there and get disillusioned. Like, oh shit, Hollywood ain't what I thought. Next thing you know, they're literally living on Skid Row and under a bridge. That has what the experience has been for the Black Americans who have romanticized Africa. That we'll go to Africa and all our problems will disappear. We won't deal with racism. We'll be supporting Black businesses. Black police won't harm us. We'll eat natural fruits and herbs, and I could get rid of my gout and my diabetes because I'm back in my natural land. This is a psychosis or the psychology of Pan-Africans in America. And I'm just saying what it actually is from being a Pan-African and having conversations with these people who think that we're going to really get off the plane and step in Uganda. But when you get there, Africa is just like other places. It has its good and it has its bad. And until we deal with reality, we're going to be just as delusional and we're going to forfeit our cultural legacies as foundational Black Americans to uphold another culture such as Pan-Africanism, and not beating up on Pan-Africanism, just saying to claim Africa when, as you know, Africans are leaving the continent. They're leaving in mass, going to the UK, going to Asia, coming to America. So what is it that we're actually running to if many of the people there are running from it? And that's a rhetorical question. This is not for you per se, but this is just to really put this topic on the table for those who don't want to pivot in a ideology, because for the ones of us who delineate, and delineate don't mean divorce, it just means give something a specific identity. My name is Brother Tad from Brooklyn, New York, always been. I'm not from South Carolina, though my grandparents are. Like, that's not my story. My story is Brooklyn. And that's what I stand on. But people want me to adopt other people's story and ideas. They wanted me to claim Africa before I left the continent and even knew what part of, you know, it's I'm off my soapbox. I want you to go, Brother Siraj, you got your flyer handy that you could pull up?
I think I've got it handy. But I just wanted to just say one thing to what you just said, You can learn that from, you know, to realize that Africa isn't a utopia. You can learn that from first-hand experience. Get your passport, take a trip. Then
there you
go there a few times, and you will see your certain wake-up calls. You know, so it's not like that. As you said, the good parts is what you make of it. You know, so
What has your experience been though, as a Nigerian going back home? What has your experience been?
Well, Nigeria has Nigeria has great scenery, view. It's a beautiful place. There are certain parts of Nigeria where they're making improvements to infrastructure, but there are still issues. You know, there's still issues with people trying to scam you. There's still issues with if you ain't got this generator situation sorted out, you know, lights off. You know, you could be doing some business, and you know that's also problematic. But yeah, because even because I ain't been for a number of years now, and I remember there was a time I had to go fetch water, but I wanted to have that experience because you know I like to be in that mindset of survival mode, just in case worse comes to worse. So I followed one of my uncles to where we went to go and fetch water, and me and my uncle was having a tug of war. And this uncle was like, he was very elderly. We was having a tug of war. He was carrying a bucket of water on their head and stuff like that. And yeah, there was a situation. I brought my laptop with me. I was on the laptop. The lights went out, and I had to wait. Luckily for me, I was prepared because I had my power banks and all of that stuff. So I was trying to recharging situations. But that's me though. I like to do that because it's about the research, and I think a lot of them, because a lot of brothers and sisters are romanticizing different parts of the world, we tend to not do the thorough research before going, you know, and then we end up getting in situations where they don't work in our favor. And I think when it comes to Nigeria, yes, there's been improvements, but there's still a lot of issues there, you know, especially within politics. A lot of the politicians are greedy. There's certain areas they still haven't developed yet. Some of the side roads still have potholes. You understand what I'm saying? So if you ain't got if you ain't got a good car, you finish. But yeah, I guess it's got its good and bad parts. But once again, with Nigeria, just like a lot of other nations in Africa, are still going through that colonial thought process, you know. And you got like, you know, I remember when I was at Victoria Island, I remember seeing like these Indians just standing there, just pointing around like they wanted to, you know, develop or have a new store out there. You understand what I'm saying? And it's like, yo, you guys got the minerals, you got the resources, this, that, and the other, and you guys still can't stand on your own 2 feet. Where you trying to invite, you know, outsiders in? It don't make no logical sense to me. So, yeah, there's things, you know. I'm also working towards, you know, moving back home. But when I'm moving back home, I'm gonna be exploring Africa a bit, because in the next few years, that's what I'm gonna be doing, you know. But I'm gonna be in between the United States and Africa. So, you know, just to continue my work and stuff like that. But all I would advise, brothers and sisters, before romanticizing anything, please do some research. You know, you got the internet. The internet is your oyster, and just learn about just before going, because you could be going into the deep end. Because we had a sister in over here who, I think it was last year. Was it last year? I think it was last year. She had her 60th. She just turned 60. Yeah. So she got into that she got into the eldership age, and this sister was killed. She lived in she moved from Northampton in the United Kingdom, or in England. She moved to Northampton to Gambia, and she was activist. She had a repatriation project. Her name was Sister Shakina Chinadu. She was one of the first speakers I had at my very first event 11 years ago. And this sister got killed by someone who was working from her, who was Sierra Leone. So just imagine that there was a Sierra Leonean in Gambia who was, you know, working with her and stuff. And, you know, there was a situation where I think it was a children or someone was bringing money over, and yeah, she got killed. I can't remember exactly how it was she got killed, but she got killed, and she was left on her compound, or near the compound, you know. But it was a brutal murder. So yeah, you have it. Africa's a different ball game to the US and the United Kingdom. So yeah.
Yeah. So bring up talking about doing the work, of course, because this is a global project. And of course, you and I got some things in the works, as you know, brothers across the world. Bring up your flyers so the people are aware of the dates. Brooklyn, we expect y'all to turn out and show out.
Okay, is there a way I can bring up the flyer? Let's see.
Do you see present?
Yeah. Let me look for it.
It's right next to the camera icon.
Yeah.
Oh.
So, yep,
There you go.
I brought it up here.
All right.
Thank you, big sister Keisha. I appreciate that.
Talk about the flyer. Talk about what you got going on in your tour dates.
So my name is Siraj Odoboyega Tukumbo Odukunle, and I'm the founding member of the Man in the Mirror project. My speciality is in mental health and dissecting how systemic racism has a major impact on Black men's mental health and how it has a domino effect with placing the Black family in chaos. So for myself, I've done a presentation called I created a presentation titled The Unpopular Truth Behind the Black Man's Abuse, what takes a dive into reports on Black men's mental health, just giving a background history of where I come from, and also the experience of me having the going through mental health issues at a younger age, and also on my history, and also making comparisons with how systemic racism has an impact on Black men's mental health within the diaspora. So I dive into different pockets when it comes to the political, social, and economic situation when it comes to how it affects us as Black men and how it affects the Black family. So it's a very informative and in-depth presentation. And this year I will be attending is it the Mackie? Yep. Sister Keisha, if I want to say Mackie Brooklyn Club.
Yes. Yes.
Yep, Mackie. So that will be on the 7th of September. As you see on the flyer, between 3 to 7. My next stop will be Atlanta, Georgia. I'll be in a Melina Griot Museum, and that will be on the 13th, which is the day of my solar return. So I'll be presenting on my born day, and on the next stop after that will be at the Pan African Connection venue at in Dallas, Texas, and after that I'll be doing a screening at the community college in Philadelphia, which is not on the flyer. So basically that's something Brother Kyle hooked up. So I'll be doing a screening, presenting the documentary The Man in the Mirror.
All right. So, Brother Siraj, down to our final few minutes. What's some of the things you want to leave the people with through this hour-plus conversation we had in terms of who has access to our children, FBA delineation? What's your experience has been in the movement? Sum it all up.
You say my experience been in the movement, or?
Yeah. I want you to sum it all up. Okay, we're about to close out. We got 10 minutes left. I want you to give the people the 3 most powerful points you want them to walk away with today's conversation.
Okay, well, number one, I would say through my experience, I came into the movement with that same romanticizing utopian mindset, because I never knew better. Yeah. So one thing I would say is for brothers and sisters to kind of take their time out to learn by asking more questions, and also asking for recommendations on certain books so they can read to gain knowledge, and also first-hand experience. Get involved somehow, whether you're being supportive, not trying to impose. So when you come into knowledge, be mindful when you're coming into that knowledge. Don't come into that knowledge and think that just because you've read the ISIS papers that you know it all. Obviously be modest, as well when you come into the movement. Also, learn to keep your own ego in check as well when it comes to, because if you don't learn to keep your ego in check, someone will check it for you. So that's something. And also, never be afraid to let people know that you don't know and that you're still learning. And that's another thing. A lot of brothers, sisters, may not be knowledgeable when it comes to certain subjects, when it comes to our community. So I think it's always good to, once again, going back to asking questions, and not always put on this kind of persona that you know what you're talking about. So that I would leave that as some advice, and I think that's about it. And also, do not put these charlatans on a pedestal. Do not put them on a pedestal. Just take the good, the bad, and ugly. Yeah. Use it to, just use whatever you need to use to help, your family, or to I don't know, when it comes to putting back into the community. Just use whatever knowledge, but don't put these people on pedestals. And also, when it comes to vetting, I think, as a people, and I've been saying this for a number of years, we need to have a thorough vetting system. And I think, do not, when it comes to some delicate when it comes to like working with the vulnerable, it's just like in the UK here, we got something which we have to apply for. I work in mental health, so I work in mental health supported housing. And in order for me to work in mental health supported housing, I need something called a DBS, which is this what's it, sorry, I keep on forgetting the D, but it's a barring system. It's the disclosure barring system. So it's a electronic document what gives you that authorization. So what we need to do is we need to kind of learn from these systems, even the systems that we don't like, and learn to implement certain aspects of that into what we are doing. Because brothers and sisters might get very ambitious, wanting to work with the vulnerables, whether it's the elderly or our children, but have they been vetted? You can't just come up in this community and just feel, just because I have a passion, I've got the right to, because if that's the whole purpose of why we're calling it a community, so
Right. Yeah, I have one more question for you, and I'll be remiss if I didn't ask this question. How familiar are you with the Nigerian slave trade?
The Nigerian slave trade, how familiar am I with the Nigerian slave trade?
I'm selling off people to slavery.
For them selling off.
Research? And what are your thoughts?
To be honest, I haven't really gone back that far. My experience is in like as I mentioned earlier, the diaspora wars between the different tribes and so forth. So I'm more familiar with that. I haven't really gone back that far. Not for no particular reason, but one thing I would say is I have learned about different aspects of my culture, and where there is flaws, I'm learning to work in the present by looking, coming up with solutions so I can be more effective in our community. But when it comes to other aspects of our history, like the Nigerians migrating or coming over to the United Kingdom, which I have on my presentation, when a lot of Nigerians came in like the 1950s and 60s and so forth. I'm aware of that, because a lot of the Nigerians wanted to, as I said, when the diaspora wars were happening, a lot of Nigerians were moving out of Nigeria, to escape or avoid what was going on, because they felt coming to the United Kingdom will give them quote unquote better opportunities, you know. But once again, a lot of our Nigerians got quite complacent and decided not to move back, to just utilize the knowledge to move back to build a better Nigeria. But a lot of them, unfortunately, got themselves in positions where they ended up becoming Sambos and all of that, you know. But I do have some information on the foster care system, because I've also been through that system and stuff. But I'll say that for the presentation and stuff. So
no doubt.
Yeah,
we're definitely gonna have you back soon too, brother. As the date nears, and as you know, more people learn about foundational Black Americans. Because truth be told, and I want to give the mic to Sister Keisha after I make this statement. Truth be told, we've been watching a lot of people throw their little darts, but no, we got an open platform. Like, if you want to debate us or argue with us, I'm quite sure our Sister K Fighter and our brother Devon and Sister Brooke have no problem with entertaining your thoughts and ideas on why we shouldn't delineate. So, you know, to all those who don't agree with our position, it's an open door policy over here. You know what I mean, Sister Keisha?
Absolutely. And as we talk about delineation, because we can try to run away from it all you want, but that's not happening. But we also have to discuss disaggregation. Legally, we do have to separate. We must separate because the diaspora has already done so. And this is what I'm telling you. Legally, they've already separated from us. And this is why they receive certain allotments. I think I went through that on the show last week. The various allotments that are causing problems. As I said, you know, of all these reparations commission hearings, it is always, not sometimes, but always the diaspora who come in and say either we don't deserve it or try to grandfather themselves onto it. Brother Devon, he mentioned he reached out to over 100. He ran down about 50 for y'all. But let's leave it at 50. 50 African, Caribbean organizations asking them to support us in lineage reparations. The answer is no. You see, when Mrs. Diallo's was sexually assaulted by Dominique Strauss-Kahn, I didn't say no because she's from Senegal. I helped out. You see what I'm saying? I helped out. It's not reciprocated here. I'm sorry, but it's not. And I see some of the comments in the chat. I'm not rocking with everybody. If you on code, you on code. If you not, and for those of you who are from the diaspora, speak to your tribe. It is your tribe that is out of pocket. It's not us. It's not us. So since legally you separated yourselves, we now have to separate ourselves. No, and yes, we must gatekeep our culture. Because if we don't, we get the foolishness of a Cool Herc, the foolishness of a Busta Rhymes, the foolishness of a Fat Joe. This is why, because for generations, we haven't gatekeeped. Yes, we are. We were the first people here. On Thorough Black Talk, I went and reviewed my fifth great-grandparents from the 1700s. I showed y'all. Fifth great-grandparents. When my fifth great-grandparents were born, y'all countries didn't even exist. It didn't exist. But you want to tell me that I don't know who the hell I am. Nigga, you out your goddamn mind. You don't lost your mind. So I'm saying that I love my brother. I love my brother Siraj. That's why I'm rocking with him. We got plenty who are on code, but there is a tidal wave who aren't on code. In politics here in the United States, those who are elected to office, whose parents or lineage originate outside of this country, they pass policy and legislation against everything that we fight for. Not something. All you have to do is read. That's all. They count on the fact that your asses ain't reading, that you like verbiage, This is why people get comfortable, Brother Tad, with feel-good history. I'm not into feel-good history. I am into history for what it is. So, we have to address the fact that, yes, there were Ghanaian slave markets. There were slave markets in the area of which we now call Burkina Faso. There were slave markets out of Nigeria. We cannot let that pass. It had nothing to do with war. It had nothing to do with white colonialism. It had everything to do with their economic stature in the world at that time. So, yes, I'm not letting that slide. I got to answer to my very own ancestors. They would not want me attaching myself to an entity that possibly have sold them or capitulated their freedom in the process. I can't do that. I'm not telling you y'all ain't got to do that, but I'm not going to do that. At these reparation hearings, it's not white folks who are coming up and challenging us. It's not Asian folks. It's y'all. Every time. And you tell us we in our feelings, we don't know what we talking about. Bring your ass to the hearings and check your clan. Check those Jamaicans, check those Haitians, check those Nigerians, check those Senegalese, check those Babalouis, all of them who are in these hearings telling us we don't deserve it. Tell that to the politicians who come from your lineage who are passing legislation to block everything that we're doing. It is not us. But I know what the problem is. I know why everybody's in their feelings. Like I said, you've been used to feeding off us for so long. The reason why your ancestors or your parents came to this country or your grandparents came to whatever country is because they couldn't deal with the people who look just like them. But you're going to tell us who've been fighting white supremacy off the rip and fighting coons off the rip, but you ran from your coons. You have no standing to tell me a goddamn thing. Sit your ass down, keep your mouth closed, and learn something. In fact, for all my Pan-African red, black, and green flag wavers, Garvey said when he first got to the U.S. that we are the blueprint for revolution. We are the blueprint for success. Right now, the Oxford Dictionary, and I know people get mad with that word tether, but you got some goddamn tethers out here, and I'm calling them by their name. Don't tell me what the legal definition of tether or whatever. We are masters of bending and creating language out of the English lexicon. You don't believe me? Oxford Dictionary holds 200 words that we created. Not that you created, we created. It's in Oxford Dictionary. So don't tell me that we don't have no standing. Yeah, like the good book said, get thee behind me, because you have no standing.
Woo! And with that, family, Sister Keisha, is that your final word or what you want the people to walk away with?
Join us on Thursday, 8 to 10 p.m. on Thorough Black Talk. We're going to break down some history. In New York City, I'm going to destroy a legacy from the diaspora that you think you started, that you think you pushed on your own. I'm going to destroy it because it has to be that way. We cannot continue to progress on lies, myths, and feel-goodness. That will totally destroy everything that each tribe is trying to do. Like I said, I go back to Jamaica more than some of these nationals who've been here forever. Ain't never went back home. Getting pressed from your family back home to send back barrels. Don't play games with me. So when I go over there, I don't interject myself, as Tad said, into their politics, their belief systems, or their way of life. You can't find a foundational Black American parade nowhere across the world where they have moved to. Not in Africa, not in the Caribbean, not in South America, and not in the goddamn UK. But what you can find here is a Caribbean Day parade. You got a Puerto Rican Day parade, Dominican Day parade. Everybody imposes their cultural norms on us. And we let y'all rock.
Don't forget the
We're gonna
homework.
turn rock. But when it comes to the end of September, when you have the African American Day parade here in New York, we can't find y'all asses uptown. You're not up there waving no red, black, and green. Your asses don't come up there. But I'm going to destroy your legacy on Thursday. So you might want to tune in 8 to 10 p.m.
My sister from another mister. Family, this wraps up today's episode of OG Wisdom Podcast. Shout out to my brother C Gutter, who's out on assignment. He will be back with us next Sunday. And we're going to continue this conversation about who has access to our children, who we're holding on pedestals, and who should be held accountable for fleecing and robbing the community. We take these things very serious. Of course, this is an FBA station right here. You know what I'm saying? But again, we're not beating up on our family. We just showing love and standing our ground in our position, you know. So hopefully you were inspired by some things you heard here today. It's your turn to go out and inspire others. So y'all stay up, stay blessed, stay true. And remember, no matter how hard things may seem right now, there are always better days ahead. Peace, family.